Let's talk more about the turmoil in France. Anne-Elisabeth Motet is a journalist and columnist at the London Telegraph. She joins us directly from Ground Zero in Paris. Anne-Elisabeth, welcome to the program, and it's good to see you.
Thank you, and very glad to be back on.
Now, the Prime Minister was asked if the government could impose a state of emergency. She said they were looking at all options with one priority, restoring order throughout the country. Is a state of emergency highly likely at this point, considering the intensity of the riots?
I would say there's a difference between a state of emergency and deciding on some local curfews, which look like they might be the next choice available. There were slightly fewer riots yesterday night. The day before, there had been 1,300 arrests, and this time there was about almost 800, which, is still not optimal, but it's slightly better. A state of emergency would liken that crisis to terrorism, which opens all sorts of questions, including legal. But deciding that in some areas there's a curfew decided might bring a solution. The government is trying to sort of keep an even keel over this one, and it's possible, but it's not. It doesn't look yet like it's going to be decided. If anything tragic should happen, and we all hope not, that would change everything.
Anne-Elisabeth, this is another round of protests that Emmanuel Macron is witnessing as president. What could be, or what could he be doing wrong? What are his critics saying? What do these protests say about his leadership?
To some extent, I would say that those protests are more against France in general than the other, because the ones we saw 4 years ago now was the yellow vests, and the yellow vests were saying life is difficult. We in forgotten small cities in the provinces are not listened to. We have jobs and yet we're poor. You tell us that we have to do our bit for the planet, but that means we cannot take go to our jobs in the morning and take our kids to school, and you're not listening to us. That was really sort of the countryside and small places saying you're not listening. And that was very, very against Macron. And then you got the protest about the pensions reform. And that again was against Macron and his government, because it was felt that, again, he did not understand the conditions in which people not so much didn't want to retire at 64 instead of 62. But with the system by which you get assigned full pension, it meant more like from 67 to 69. And that again was seen as a government that was detached from the realities of people who are not rich in France. This is entirely different. These are riots that are conducted by, it started with a tragic incident, but then you've got accusation of systemic racism in France, which really is not quite true. There is racism in France. Unfortunately, there happens to be racism in lots of countries. It's not a good thing. But saying that the French police is to be likened to the American police is a complete mistake. In America, the police killed last year 1,200 people. In France, it was 7. It was 7 too many. But in a country that's 1/4 of the size of the United States, you can see the difference. And every single time, the culprits were taken to justice. And this does not take into account the number of policemen who were killed by people in various situations. So we are talking about something that starts as anger and dismay because of the tragic death of a 17-year-old. And then you get sense.
Let's talk about that anger, because, I mean, so many are questioning, how can one incident spark off this scale of demonstration? Could it be that there is some sort of pent-up or bottled-up anger among the French that is now coming to light?
I would say that it's a combination of anger and also complete loss of values, complete loss of a sense of proportion, and complete loss of respect for authority. The reason, if it's a reason, it's no reason that the young man was killed, had to do with the fact that he refused to obey the command by 2 traffic cops who saw him, so that he was too young to drive a car. The car was a luxury car, and they wanted to see his papers, and he refused to do this. Refusal to obey police happens 26,000 times a year. There is complete lack of acceptance that in an organized state you have authorities. you saw these people. I mean, you have left-wing MPs like Sandrine Rousseau who say they're hungry, and they were looting Apple stores.
Right.
They were stealing, they were torching cars. They were burning their own schools. They were burning libraries, buses, bus stations, post offices. And that's more a society problem, I should say, than a problem of racism.
All right, let's end this discussion here. I've been talking to Anne-Elizabeth Mottet, a journalist and also columnist. Anne-Elizabeth, thank you very much for giving us time and for talking to WION World is One.
Thank you.